So the calls for Justice Samuel Alito to recuse himself from cases concerning Donald Trump are mounting. The latest from House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. Jeffries putting out a statement saying, quote, Samuel Alito should apologize immediately for disrespecting the American flag and sympathizing with right-wing violent insurrectionists. He must recuse himself from cases involving the 2020 election and former President Donald Trump. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal is with us now in New York. Welcome, Congresswoman.
Thank you, Michael.
Congresswoman, it's Alexi McCammond with The Washington Post. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Great to be with you, Alexi.
Justice Alito blamed all of this on his wife. Yeah. Do you believe him?
No, I mean, that was such a sham move, cowardly move, I would say. But listen, if the Supreme Court justices want to control women's bodies across the country, then a Supreme Court justice should certainly be able to control what flag is put on their flagpole at their house. And this was not a flag that was there for just a couple of hours. This was there for several days. He did not deny it. And I think that, you know, the level of corruption and conflicts of interest that have plagued this Supreme Court have really contributed to the lowest ever ratings of trust of the American people in the highest court of the land. And I think he has to recuse himself from the 2020 election cases that are before him. But I don't know if he will.
Well, and that, I think, Congresswoman, is where Americans become so frustrated, at least those of us who are paying attention, which is you say this is a court that does not seem to be held to account. You'll have people point to Justice Roberts, the Chief Justice, and say, well, he should be able to get his own house in order. Yeah. Clearly, he's not up to that task. They're not being held to a code of ethics that would allow a forceful recusal for them. There has been some interest on the part of Senate Judiciary to considering an investigation into what has happened here. For Americans who are saying, how do we hold this institution to account? What is the answer?
I think the answer is Justice Roberts is clearly not holding them to account. The code of ethics that he put out has no enforcement whatsoever. It's a weak code to start with, and then it has no enforcement whatsoever. I do think that Congress has to step in, and Senator Durbin has said that this is the direction that he wants to go. I think that's the only answer because, I mean, I just don't think people understand that the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, is the only federal court that has no accountability whatsoever when it comes to ethics. Senator Warren and I have also a bill, our Supreme Court Ethics and Anti-Corruption Act. There are any number of ways that we can legislate, and the idea that we're going to leave it to Justice Roberts to do something about this has just been clearly proved wrong. He is not able to control his court, or he doesn't want to. Whatever it is, it's a bad situation where people cannot trust that the Supreme Court is making decisions with objectivity, without corruption. And let's not forget, Alicia, that Justice Alito is also the justice that had taken a trip with a billionaire hedge fund manager. And that hedge fund manager then had several cases before Justice Alito, similar to Clarence Thomas, same situations where you have spouses who are involved in the 2020 election. Ginny Thomas much more clearly so. But now with this flag incident at Samuel Alito's house, you can't just say, look, that was my wife and I'm still fine to deal with this. This is absolutely improper and undermines the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. Most importantly, hurts our democracy when these cases come up because these people are clearly biased.
Michael, can I just ask you real fast, can you imagine the uproar there would be if Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson flew a flag upside down outside? Can you imagine if Justice Sonia Sotomayor deigned to show this type of disrespect to the flag?
Well, not only that, but then compounded with all of the other grifting that has been brought to the attention of the American people. Republicans would be in cramps. They would be so bent over in pain from watching this unfold, and yet they want to excuse it away. And so, Congresswoman, you have CNBC Supreme Court noting that Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has been pressing him on whether or not he's addressed the $267,000 loan, RV loan. And it says, at the moment, Justice Thomas has done absolutely nothing to address the perception that he may have failed to report hundreds of thousands of dollars in forgiven debt of his federal income tax returns and pay the income tax owed. The reality of it is, they're acting with impunity.
That's right.
These folks are behaving as if they are, in fact, above the law. There are no ethical standards. I mean, come on. We saw this exercise of them putting together some ethics plan as a joke. It's not enforceable. It has no teeth. It means nothing. What does this mean for Justice Roberts to have all of this happening with at least two of the members of his court who are egregiously flaunting, finance rules and, showing their obvious political bias and sitting on cases and ruling on those cases with no apparent recourse?
I'm glad you went to Justice Roberts, because this is the Roberts court, and he has clearly shown that he has no capacity to lead the court. He is unwilling to hold his own justices accountable. He is unwilling to make sure that his court has legitimacy with the American people. I mean, we are at the lowest levels of trust ever in the highest court of the land. That is a stunning situation. And it has tremendous implications for our democracy, for our justice system. And Justice Roberts is doing nothing about it. And I thought that he would be somebody who would have, some skin in the game in terms of wanting to have legitimacy to his court. Michael, that's just clearly not true. If you look at that ethics code that they put out, and I looked at it again this morning, it is weak at best, and it has zero accountability. There is no enforcement whatsoever. And already these justices have violated the things that are in that code. So Justice Roberts needs to be the one to say, no, you need to recuse yourself from these cases. And then, of course, around the transparency and corruption. What a sad day it is in the country where Supreme Court justices can be bought off with fishing trips at luxury lodges in Alaska or wherever it is they're going. That is just, it's a terrible, terrible situation for our people.
And it's an even sadder day when the Supreme Court justice hangs the flag of the United States upside down on his front porch. That, to me, is an abomination.